So we can't make these two requests because one of them is going to block or one of them is going to return before the other. So what we really need to do is we need to do this asynchronously.
Okay.
And so there's a really good module that I like to use called async. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to kind of stage up and run my requests either in parallel or in sequence or do like a few and then wait and then a few. And it gives me a lot of options and flexibility.
So kind of like Q in Angular?
Kind of, yeah.
Or Q in the web?
Yep. You can also use Bluebird and use promises, but those are a little more difficult to kind of understand and to use because it's a little more abstract. So we'll use async in this.
But the use case we're having is we have multiple asynchronous requests we have to make, and we want to manage that so when they're all done, we can grab the data as they come back and then merge them together and do what we want.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to need to require async. So I'm in my pet server. So I say var async equals require async.
It's kind of funny to think about it because Node is async in a lot of ways already, but you have to require async.
You have to require async to do it this
Gotcha.
way. I mean, you could write up your own sort of callback functions. I mean, async is written in JavaScript, so it's already done for you. Stand on the shoulder of giants. Don't reinvent the wheel. I know I'm small. Leave me alone. All right, so I've already run through this, so I'm going to copy and paste for us to make it a little easier. And then I'm going to talk it through because there's a lot of typing that would go on here. So
there is, but a lot of that, I mean, just scanning there, a lot of that seems to be code that you already had. You're just wrapping those requests inside of other functions.
Exactly. So we look here, we've got this request. I'm going to the dog server. I'm going to get rid of this, and instead I'm going to paste this in. So I still have got my dog request.
Let's digest this.
I just want right there.
Is that the same dog request you had before? Anything different about it?
No. Well, I mean, I think the error handling.
You have more error handling now. Yeah. Okay.
Let me collapse these, and this makes it even easier.
Awesome.
Right. So
code collapsing. I wish VS Code had that.
Oh, does it?
Code folding.
Code folding.
Code folding.
Code folding. Yodeling.
Code folding. Yes.
Does it have code folding?
Not yet.
Oh,
there's an extension you should write.
Oh, righty then. So async.parallel. So I basically can take this object and I can add as many key value pairs as I want. So the key is just basically something I can reference back later for which service I'm hitting. And then the value, if I expand this cat, is I'm creating a function that has a callback, executing this anonymous function, and inside this anonymous function I'm creating a request, right? So I'm requesting cat. I get my error body response back, and I just have, this is essentially the same, I just added a little better error.
So you're using the async library to call the request.
Yes.
It's still using request up top.
Still using request. So I've got, oh yeah, did I have request in there?
I think you do. No?
Oh yeah, R, require request.
Yeah, R.
I lost it for a minute. So I handle my callback. I handle what I get back. So you'll notice the one difference here is if I have an error, then I'm calling back with my service as cat, just as JSON object, and I'm passing the error equals error. That's if I have an error. If there's not an error, and my response status is 200, I'm passing callback with null as the first parameter. So the way this works is a lot of promise libraries are the same way. Async with callbacks is the same way. All of these objects, key values, are going to be executed in parallel. And when you call back without null, they get aggregated until everyone has been called back, and then this final function here is going to be called.
When you call back with null or without null?
With null.
With null.
If you call without null, so like say status code wasn't 200, but we didn't get an error, and say we got like a 404 or 500, I'm going to call back with this first parameter status code. That immediately stops all the other processes and then returns an error here. And it'll say, hey, there's been an error somewhere, go fix it.
So which ones are the error conditions? Right there in line 16, that's an error.
If I have an error, yes.
Right. That means that the request I made returned back with an error.
The request itself returned an error, yes.
Line 21, that is not an error, and it's a good code.
And good code.
So that means I have null for the error, but the body is what I actually got back.
Yep, and status code 200, yep.
And then if it's anything else besides 200, so let's say I got back a 404.
Exactly.
That's not an error in this case, maybe, but it comes down here.
Yeah, so we're going to send the status code because we didn't get what we wanted. We're not going to have a body that's going to be...
And the callback keyword, that's coming from line 14, I think it's the line. So that's just a delegate. You could call that done, Sam, Fred, whatever you want.
Yeah, CB.
That's basically the way that the async response talks to the calling code.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So now, and again, I to reiterate, I could have 1,000 of these here. I can have however many I want: cat, dog, parrot, worm,
And they run
fly.
in parallel.
They run in parallel. And so when they're all done, they come back, and then this function gets executed. So it's going to pass in an error, and it's going to pass in results. So I'm sending just down the pipe, response.json, error, and results. And again, this is just a JavaScript.
And as results end up with like an object that's got like a .dog and a .cat.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. So now.
So that's where the keys come in.
Yes. So let's go back here and say what happened. Oh, did we do the npm install yet? No.
So we still haven't aggregated them so much, meaning we didn't merge them into a single list. We end up getting two lists.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if I do nodemon, I think I have to. I only changed the pet server, so
are your forevers running? So if we do forever list, we can see them, right?
Yep.
There's your invisible servers.
Nodemon pet server. So pet server's running, and if I go up here and I refresh, now we have dogs found successful. Oh, it's not what we want.
We don't have our kitties. Did we save it?
Let's save. All right, let's refresh. So our error is null, and then we get these results, which is our dog and cat.
Okay, and this is the combined result that came from the pet server, which is calling async. The key of dog is all of our data. What's the info part?
So you remember our dog server returns this.
Okay.
So now let's say we don't need that info. Let's say we just want the data. If I go back here inside my cat and my dog, right, and I say call back body, I can just call back, let's see, what would the body.data, right?
Right.
So if I go in here and I say, body.data and body.data, and I save that, NodeMon's going to restart my server because it saw the change. I go into posts, and now I'm not going to get that info anymore.
Now you go right to cat.
Yeah.
Now if we wanted just to have the data, we could have actually taken that object and maybe used a Lodash function on it to get rid of the info, or we could have just deleted the info property.
Could do that too.
Whatever you want.
Yeah,
but you can manipulate the data is the point.
So yeah, one of the things when I'm teaching this as a class, or I like to have people do, is go through and then combine all the names. So Sam, cats and dogs, like what's the most popular name? So there's 2 cats and 1 dog with Sam, so Sam 1. So that could be an exercise. We're going to post this on GitHub, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we do a lot of stuff here, right? We could combine the data, we could aggregate it. You could even use this pet server, as I'm looking at it, is not just get a list of dogs and cats, but you could say, I don't really care about the types, I just want to get back the names and the ages.
Exactly.
So you could slice it up vertically, horizontally.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, cool.
You do want to be careful, though, with manipulating the JSON files within the Node application itself.
Why is that?
Because that can actually block you, right? So you're doing, that's a non-blocking task if you're doing a lot of, especially when you're marshalling in JSON, which we'll get to in the future. I'm going to show you about caching.
Yeah, I think the reason that would be bad, right? Because any line of code you write inside Node is going to be blocking unless it's async. And then when you're writing that code, I mean, all that stuff operates real fast, but if you start doing loops, because you start manipulating the data, you'll be looping.
Yeah.
And looping is probably the biggest source of performance issues.
Yeah. So if you have 10,000 objects coming back, you might want to put an intermediary server in between that. And we will talk about that.
And quite frankly, if you need a database and a Node application to keep track of 4 cat names, then you've got a memory problem.
Huh? Where am I? What are we doing?
I can't remember my cat's name. What's going on?
So
let's create a database.
You brought up an interesting point. So let's talk about the asynchronous nature of JavaScript and of Node. So let's go into our dog server here, and I've got an actual, I kind of pre-routed some of this. If I go into my dog and I want to send a response, but I'm not going to send the response immediately. I'm just going to do a timeout function. So if I go and I get all my dogs, when I send this response.json here, so I'm in my routes, right? I'm going to paste this in. Instead of just sending it right away, just do a simple set timeout. And I'm going to say, again, dogs found successfully, but I'm going to wait for 10 seconds.
Okay, so we're making the dog server take 10 seconds, even though it doesn't really.
Yeah.
And why are we doing this?
We're doing this because I want to show you the asynchronous nature of Node. So if I also should also create on pets, I'm going to create a ping endpoint. So this I'm going to create just so that if I hit it and say ping, it'll return pong, so I can show you that I'm actually getting request and response. So if I go here, I say, oh, is that inside the same? Sometimes I get lost here. Which one's that? Oh, so that's why.
So we've got a dog and we've got a cat. You've changed the dog to be 10 seconds. And where's ping pong?
Here. So now I'm creating a ping endpoint.
I do ping pong a lot quick. I like doing this because whenever I create a server, and especially in development mode, I remove these for production. But I like to have something to make sure my things are alive.
Yep.
That gives me a very simple way to test and make sure my code didn't screw up.
Mm-hmm. So if I go to localhost 3002, I should now have a ping. And so this is telling me, basically, I just gave time since the epoch. So you can see that this number is constantly updating, right? So if I go here, back to 3002, and I go and I refresh, you're going to see, well, you're not going to see, oh, I have to restart my dog server. So I made a change to the dog server. So I say forever restart. I'll actually do.
So the dog server was running, but because you changed it and you're not using NodeMine, you're using forever, you have to restart it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So forever restart. What's the process ID on the dog server is 1885.
The black on black's killing me, so I can't tell you.
Forever ever list.
But I think I'm really getting at this is real programmers code black on black.
Yeah, that's right.
Hardcore, man.
We don't. Oh, I don't have it running. So now look, this is going to take 10 seconds. So we start counting. 1, 2, 3.
You can see it spinning a little circle
Yep.
in the tab of the browser.
And so finally that came back. It doesn't have it here, but if I do it again, it'll show me on the. I can see it pending here, and it'll tell me 10 seconds when it comes back. So let's launch the pet server. So now pet server is going to aggregate data from this slow dog server, which is taking 10 seconds, and the fast cat server. So if I go and get pets.
Dog slow, fast cat.
Yes.
So pet will be slow.
So pet's slow. So I'm sitting here and I'm waiting. So where's my response? Where's my response?
Yeah, those cats are getting impatient, waiting for the dogs.
And so it's not back. So we finally get it back, and that took 10 seconds. So, but what's happening here, right? So let's think about it. What happens if I get more requests? I mean, am I really pausing for 10 seconds, or am I not pausing for 10 seconds? And so a simple way we can...
Yeah, so, okay, go ahead.
I was going to say a simple way we can show that is if I've got my ping server here, right, and I'm getting an updated date every time. If I start this, and then I go here and I start blasting this server, you'll see that the date keeps updating, and I can hit it, 20, 50, 100 times, however many.
So he's updating.
He's updating and handling the response while it's waiting for this to call back. So even though this user, this client, is waiting, and it seems like it's taking 10 seconds to get the response back because of the asynchronous nature of Node, we can keep serving requests, on the side to other clients.
Let's take a look at that code where the timeout is, because that's interesting. So the timeout is in the dog, I believe, not the cat, right?
Yep.
The dog.
Yep.
So this guy here has got a timeout, but the calling program, the pet,
Yeah.
he calls the dog there, and because of async, it doesn't matter how long dog takes. This program, pet.js, is not waiting.
Exactly.
Well, he's waiting, but he's not holding onto the thread. He's saying, continue on your merry way.
Yep.
So when dog is done, it'll let the pet know.
Yep.
That's why your ping continues.
Yeah, so it goes through the call loop, right? So it says, hey, I just got a request, and I'm going out doing this async stuff, and I'm going out to the dog server. Okay, let's go on and keep going through our loop. Oh, I got a request for ping. Okay, request for ping. Okay, let's go through our event loop. Oh, dog's not back. Okay, let's just keep going. So it still checks every time it goes through its loop because there's nothing else coming in. Oh, do a ping. And then it comes through finally and it says, oh, dog's back. Let's return
And that's non-blocking.
Non-blocking.
Cool.
But now the difference is if I was to go into this function, right? We don't want to do the heavy in the pet server. When we get this callback function, if we then took that big data, say we got 10,000 instances back of dogs and cats, and we went through and we wanted to go and then manipulate that data, that will block our event loop.
And manipulate it significantly, not like, remove a property, but loop through it.
Pulling out the name or just doing maybe a simple merge is not going to cause a whole lot of processing issues. I don't know what kind of servers you work on. I mean, usually 8 requests per second is pretty good for production. And I mean, you can easily serve hundreds of requests per second with
Yeah,
Node.
right. Node can go crazy.
Yeah.